Jonathan is a young man. He is 28 years old and works in London. He earns good money, but he cannot buy a home. He looks at houses on his phone, but they are too expensive. Jonathan pays a lot of money for rent every month. He lives in a flat with other people. After paying rent and other costs, he saves only a small amount of money. He thinks it will take him many years to save enough money to buy a house. His parents bought their house easily. For Jonathan, it seems impossible. He feels like he will be too old to buy a house when he finally saves enough. Many young people in London are like Jonathan. They earn money, but they cannot buy a home. Rents are very high in London. Wages, or the money people earn, do not grow as fast as rents. This means many people are caught in a rent trap. They pay so much for rent that they cannot save to buy a house. London is a big city. Many teachers, nurses, and other workers live here. In the past, these people could buy homes in London, but now it is very hard. Housing has become very expensive. It is like a luxury. This book will ask a big question. How did London become so unaffordable? How did things change so much in the last 80 years? We will look at what happened to London's housing from the end of the Second World War until today. This is the story of how London's housing problems grew over time. 2. A good start. After World War II, London looked very different. Many homes were broken or destroyed because of the war. People needed places to live. The country made a big choice. It decided that homes were a basic need for everyone, not just for rich people. This was a new way of thinking. The government started a big plan to build many new homes. These homes were called council houses. They were built for the public. From 1945 to 1949, in London alone, more than 44,000 new homes were built. Across the whole country, 1 million new homes were built by the government. Most of these new homes, about 80%, were owned by the public. These new homes were good quality. They were not just small temporary places. They were proper family homes. They often had gardens, good heating, and modern kitchens. This was much better than many of the old, crowded homes that people used to live in. The idea was that everyone should have a good, safe place to live. This plan meant that housing was seen as a right for all people. It was not seen as something to buy and sell to make money. Council houses were not just for a short time. They were meant to be permanent homes where families could live for many years. Rent for these homes was kept low and fair. People usually spent only about 1/4 of their income on rent. This helped families save money and live comfortably. By the year 1980, almost 1 in every 3 families in Britain lived in a home owned by the state. This shows how many public homes there were. The government also wanted to build good communities, not just houses. New housing areas often had schools, shops, and places for people to meet. They were designed as complete neighborhoods. People from all kinds of jobs lived side by side. For example, teachers, bus drivers, and factory workers lived in the same areas as office workers. These communities were strong and mixed. For about 30 years, this system worked well. Homes were stable and easy to pay for. Young families could plan their future without worrying too much about housing costs. Owning a home was not the most important thing for everyone. In 1971, only half of British families owned their homes, and this was normal. Living in a council house did not have a bad name, as it sometimes does today. Everyone lived together. This was a good beginning for London's housing. But this way of doing things would change a lot in the future. 3. A big change. In 1979, a big change happened in British housing. Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister, and her government had a new idea. She believed that more people should own their homes. This was a different way of thinking about housing, moving it from a basic right to an opportunity to build personal wealth. This new way saw homes not just as a place to live, but as something that could grow in value. In 1980, her government introduced a new law called Right to Buy. This law allowed people living in public homes, known as council houses, to buy them. They could buy their homes at a very big discount. For example, tenants could get 33% off the market price, and people who had lived there for a long time could get up to 50% off. This policy was very popular. Many working families bought their homes. Between 1980 and 1995, about 1,500,000 council homes were sold across Britain. This was the largest transfer of public property to private hands in history. However, there was a big problem. New public homes were not built to replace the ones that were sold. The money from these sales did not usually go back into building new houses. For every home sold, less than 1/5 of a replacement home was built. This meant that the total number of affordable public homes went down a lot. At the same time, the rules for private renting also changed. In 1988, new laws removed controls on how much landlords could charge for rent. Before this, rents were more controlled, and tenants had more protection. Now, landlords could charge whatever the market allowed. This made renting privately more expensive and less secure for many people. These changes had a big effect on house prices. In 1979, the average house in the UK cost about 3.4 times the average salary. By 1989, just 10 years later, it was 4.7 times the average salary. This gap between how much people earned and how much houses cost started to get bigger. The communities also changed. Council estates, which used to have a mix of people from different jobs and incomes, began to look different. As people bought their homes and sometimes moved, the remaining public housing often became home to people with lower incomes or more difficult lives. The idea of social housing slowly changed from being for everyone to being mostly for those in great need.
By 1900, London was a different place. Housing was no longer just a place to live, it was seen as a way to get rich. This made it much harder for young people and families to find affordable homes, setting the stage for bigger problems in the future. 4. Money from around the world. After the 2008 financial crisis, the world faced big money problems. Banks had trouble, but London's homes stayed strong. Prices even grew fast. London homes became a safe place for rich people from other countries to put money. Investors wanted safe places for wealth. London property was a safe investment, like gold. It had clear rules, good laws, and low property taxes. This made London very attractive to powerful global investors. Rich people from countries like Russia, the Middle East, and China bought many London houses. They bought them as investments, not to live in. In expensive London areas, about 40% of homes were bought by international buyers between 2010 and 2020.
In some new luxury buildings, this was 80%. London homes were becoming global assets, not just places to live. Many homes became empty. They were bought, but nobody lived in them. London needed homes, but these properties stood dark year-round. One study showed empty homes were worth about £18.7 billion. They just held money, not people. UK taxes also made London attractive. Yearly property taxes were low. A £50 million house might pay only a few £1,000s in council tax each year. This made it cheap to hold expensive property without living there. It encouraged buying houses just to store money. This global money pushed London house prices very high for everyone. As international buyers paid huge sums for central London homes, local people could not afford them. They moved further from the city center, making outer areas more expensive too. This ripple effect meant prices went up quickly across the city. The cost for residents was big. Many traveled hours each day to jobs. Teachers, nurses, and police found it hard to live close to work. This meant longer journeys, more travel money, and less time for rest. It also meant London was losing its mix of people. The city became more divided by wealth. This made it harder for young people to start their own lives and buy a home. London slowly changed. It became a city where wealthy people stored money in houses, like a bank, and many people who worked there had to live far away. Old communities broke apart due to high costs, and the city's unique spirit began to change. Property values seemed more important than people's lives. 5. Plans that did not work. After a long time, the government saw that London's housing market was very difficult for many people. They wanted to help first-time buyers get their own homes, so they created new plans. One important plan was called Help to Buy. It started in 2013. The idea behind Help to Buy was simple. The government offered special loans to people buying new homes.
Buyers only needed to pay a small deposit, about 5% of the home's price. The government would lend them up to 20% or even 40% in London. This money was meant to make it easier for people to buy houses and also to encourage more new homes to be built. However, many experts were not sure this plan would work well. They thought that giving more money to buyers would only make house prices go up even more. And this is what happened. Studies showed that Help to Buy made house prices in London rise by about 8%. But it did not help to build many new houses. Instead, big building companies made much more money. Their profits went up a lot, and their leaders got very large bonuses. For example, a CEO of a big building company once said that Help to Buy had created more demand for houses, which meant higher prices for them. The plan also caused other problems. Sometimes the new homes bought with Help to Buy were more expensive than older homes. Later, when people wanted to sell these new homes, they found they were worth less than they paid. This meant some buyers lost money. Also, the plan often helped people who already had good incomes, not those who needed the most help. Many people who used Help to Buy could have bought a home anyway, but they used the scheme to buy a bigger or more expensive one. Over 10 years, Help to Buy cost a lot of money, billions of pounds from taxpayers. It helped many people buy homes, but it did not make housing cheaper for everyone. A report in 2022 said that the plan actually made prices higher. It also said that the money would have been better spent on building more homes. Other small government plans also tried to fix the problem, but they mostly focused on making it easier to buy, not on building more homes. These plans often made the housing problem worse. They put more money into a market where there were not enough homes. This meant prices kept going up. The government's plans helped big companies and people who already owned homes. They did not truly help young people or those with less money to find an affordable place to live in London. 6. Life is hard in London. The very high cost of living in London makes daily life hard for many people. It impacts how they live, work, and plan their future in many ways. Essential workers, such as teachers, nurses, police officers, and firefighters, find it increasingly difficult to live close to where they work. For instance, a primary school teacher, aged 34, might earn a decent salary. However, this income is often not enough to afford even a small flat in inner London. Instead, she might share a house in Zone 4, paying almost £1,000 each month for just a single bedroom. Her daily journey to work can take up to 90 minutes or more, each way. This long commute not only costs more money for transport, but also consumes valuable personal time, leading to greater stress and exhaustion. Because housing is so expensive, many young people cannot afford their own place. As a result, They are forced to live with their parents for much longer than previous generations. Statistics show that around 3 out of 10 people aged between 25 and 29 years old now live with their parents. This number has grown significantly over the last decade. These young adults often feel stuck, like they are still students, even when they are in their 30s. It becomes very hard for them to think about starting a family or making other long-term life plans when they do not have a stable home they can call their own. The constant stress of housing insecurity and the exhaustion from long commutes can also seriously affect people's mental well-being. The city itself is also undergoing a big change. London is becoming more divided by wealth and income. Richer people tend to live in the central areas, while the working and middle classes are being pushed further out to the city's edges. This changes the mix of people in different neighborhoods. Communities that once included people from all sorts of jobs and backgrounds are now separated based on how much money they earn. This trend also means that young artists and creative people might find it impossible to afford living in London anymore. Many young professionals are now considering leaving the city, not for better career opportunities, but simply to find more affordable housing. This situation slowly changes London's diverse character and makes daily life much harder for many residents. 7. Why London is broken. London's housing problems have grown over many years, making the city very expensive. There are 3 main reasons why this crisis happened. First, the way people thought about homes completely changed. After World War II, the government helped build many new public homes. These were called council houses. The idea was that good housing was a basic right for everyone, not just for the rich. Rents were low and easy to pay. But in the 1980s, this idea changed. The government started a plan called Right to Buy. This plan allowed people living in council homes to buy them at a very cheap price. This made many people see their homes as a way to get rich or an investment. Millions of public homes were sold. However, the government did not build many new public homes to replace them. This meant there were fewer affordable places for people to live and rent, changing housing from a social good to a private asset. Second, money from around the world pushed prices up very quickly. After the big financial crisis in 2008, many rich people from other countries looked for safe places to put their money. London property became a popular choice. These international investors bought houses in London not to live in, but as a place to store their wealth. This high demand from global buyers made house prices in London much higher than local people could afford. Many homes in good areas of London became empty because their owners lived in other countries. These properties were simply investments, not active homes for London families. This greatly reduced the number of available homes for those who actually work and live in the city. Third, some government plans made the problem worse instead of better. Faced with rising prices, governments tried to help people buy homes. For instance, the Help to Buy scheme was introduced. It was designed to help people buy their first home by lending them money for a deposit. But this plan had an unexpected effect. By giving more money to buyers, it made house prices go up even more. These policies did not create more houses. Instead, they often helped big building companies earn huge profits. The money spent on these schemes did not solve the main problem, which was the lack of affordable homes. Instead, it just made the market more expensive. In summary, London's housing problem is severe because the way people view homes changed from a right to an investment. A lot of money came from other countries, making homes too expensive for local people. And government policies meant to help often just made the housing market even harder to access. These combined factors mean that many Londoners, especially young workers like Jonathan, find it almost impossible to find an affordable and stable place to live in their own city. 8. What happens next? London's housing problem seems very big and hard to fix. But other cities around the world show that different ways are possible. These cities have chosen to make housing affordable for their people. For example, Vienna, the capital of Austria, has a strong public housing system. In Vienna, good quality homes are built by the city, and they are for everyone, not just people with low incomes. The city treats housing like an important public service, similar to building roads or running schools. This means that rents stay low and stable, allowing all people to afford to live well. Homes in Vienna are not seen mainly as investments to make money, but as essential places for families and individuals to live and grow. Another good example comes from Singapore. This country also has a special housing plan that works well. The government there builds and sells many affordable homes directly to its citizens. They have ways to make sure that the increasing value of land, which often pushes up house prices in other places, benefits the public instead of only private companies. This strong control helps to keep housing costs down for everyday people. These two examples show that when governments take a lead role, they can help create a fair housing system for everyone. To fix London's housing problem, big and brave changes are needed. This means changing the main idea about what a home is. For many years, people have seen homes as the best way to get rich or make a lot of money. This idea must change. We need to remember that homes should be safe and secure places to live first. Making these changes will be very hard. People who own many properties, rich investors, and big building companies often have a lot of power and may not like these new ideas. Also, many people who already own their homes like it when their house value goes up. So, politicians face very difficult choices. They must decide if they will help the many people who need affordable homes or the few who get very rich from houses. The story of how London got into this situation is clear, but the future is still being written. Can London truly become a city where everyone, including teachers, nurses, and young workers, can afford to live and build a life? Or will it continue to become a city mainly for the very wealthy, with everyone else having to travel far to work? The future depends on new choices. It depends on deciding if housing is a basic human right for all people or just an opportunity for some to make a profit. It depends on whether cities exist to serve their residents or to serve property values. What do you think is the single most important change needed to make cities like London affordable again?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.